Rupert Murdoch has figured out a way to give away his empire and all the control of the media without paying any tax. AI robots can paint King Charles, and we've got real snakes on a plane. Today's episode of Temporally Scripted, we're going to be going around the news and giving our expert opinion on everything that's going on in the world. And even Adam will be pleased to know that his not taking the phone to the toilet has probably avoided him getting hemorrhoids, which is a serious problem for people of our age. Good to see you, Adam. How you doing, my friend?
Good to see you too. And I'm glad to hear that I've been vindicated on the don't take your phone to the toilet.
Honestly,
fiasco.
For me, it's the size of the grapes in the bunch. It's this stage. It's not been worth all of that extra TikTok that I've been
doing. It's nice when I've been able to predict the future and science has prevailed and proven me right.
My elastic band budget has gone up significantly. I'm really gonna have to have a word with it. Jumping into this stuff, Rupert Murdoch, he's managed to give his son control of the family media empire. What's the subtext to this story? So clearly, when rich people are getting close to dying, they definitely want to avoid as much government tax as they possibly can. What's the story behind this? I've just flicked it up on screen now so the guys can see. From other news sites are available, by the way, guys.
Right. I'm not really sure what the sort of sub-story or whatever is with this, really, but I guess it's just that it's one of the biggest, most influential kind of news networks, perhaps in history. And so I guess there was a big kind of fight over who would gain control when Rupert Murdoch dies. And so what they came to is that they'd give basically the corporation to his son Lachlan, and then all of his other kids would receive, I think it was 1.1 or 1.3 billion dollars.
Oh, they're going to be so annoyed at Christmas dinner. Can you imagine how bad it's going to be this year? They're all sat around. He's there with his like multi-billion-dollar empire and all of the power of all of the media in the world, and the other kids are there. 1.1 billion.
Can you pass this stuff in, rich boy?
No. Why don't you make a newspaper article asking me to pass you the stuff in?
Yeah, this is it.
1.1 billion. Even if I spend $10 million a day for the rest of my life, there's still going to be some left over for my kids. But I wanted the power.
It's just such ludicrous amounts of money, isn't it? When you think of it in those terms.
It is. Yeah.
I don't know how I'd even spend that much money. There was only so many breakfast burritos and things like that money can buy. And I just don't know how I could do it.
Yeah, it's the stage of wealth where you need to start buying islands and private jets and politicians and stuff.
Not that ever happens.
Of course. We would never suggest anything of the sort. But I wonder what difference it's going to make in terms of the political leaning of some of these newspapers and media outlets that are under Rupert Murdoch, because I think that's probably part of the decision. I wonder if one of the sons is a little bit more centrist than Murdoch might be.
Yeah, which would be interesting. And of course, you never know of people as well. So even his son could appear to be a certain way, but he might be completely the opposite and take things in a different direction. That once he's in control, you just don't really know. But I think the thing is, it's such a huge amount of control that corporation has. So when you think it's like Fox News, is it for Wall Street Journal? I think maybe the Times in England, some various different like huge publications, and it just, yeah, I can't remember exactly. I did have it written down somewhere.
Yeah, it's like the New York Post, fine newspapers like this. Sorry to any of our viewers from Liverpool. I know you're not the biggest fan of this. The Times of London, HarperCollins, various Australian papers. Australians don't read papers. Come on. I'm joking. Just to put that out there. Yeah, Fox Entertainment in general. And I'm sure probably still has some control in Sky. Although he might have sold some bits. Because I know there was some stuff with the UK government where they weren't allowed to take over certain things that they were going to take over because there was concern about even more of a monopoly than there already is. But yeah, I know that like even one of the companies that he sold, Foxtel in Britain, he sold that for $2.1 billion. So the News Corp, I mean, whatever the value of it is crazy.
It sounds really Orwellian as well, doesn't it? News Corp. I don't know. There's something about it. Like it's like Orwell or something out of RoboCop or something like that.
It's a Ministry of Fun. Yeah. Yeah, and the total value of it is $16.81 billion. Which is
not small change.
It's not. So we will have to see how that plays out. Old Rupert at 94, he's still going, he's still doing pretty well. But surely days must be numbered.
Yeah, it can't be that far away. Unless he's got something else planned, like some head transplant or something like that, and just keep on going for another 90-something years.
In like a Futurama sort of way.
Yeah, maybe.
Like the heads in the fish tank.
That's something I saw the other day, actually. I can't remember if it was in like Apple News or it could have been on Twitter. So it probably, either way, it's probably completely false. But yeah, I'm sure it was something about Putin being overheard talking about having a head transplant. So he can like carry on, have his head put on someone else's body. And
if anyone was going to, that's how I'd have it down, for sure. So yeah, it makes sense. I think we'll have to see how it plays out and whether or not Lachlan is like Dr. Evil's son, and it might change the whole. Was it Seth? What's his name? Seth. It's not Seth Rogen, is it? Anyway,
I can't remember, but yeah, and has Nirvana t-shirt and stuff like that, and
it's just not evil enough.
Really cool.
Yeah, not evil enough. We might see something interesting from that change.
I know that various studies have been done in the past as well on like the influence that kind of Fox and other Murdoch-related media has had, and yeah, it's definitely moved the needle on elections quite considerably. And there was a famous one in the UK where, was it 1992, I believe, where it said something like it was the Sun what won it, because it was literally the Sun's involvement and backing, basically, and the kind of articles they decided to publish that swayed the opinions of a lot of people, which, and I don't know, should that even be legal?
No.
Because it's like going back to that thing of news-flavored segments or news-flavored entertainment or whatever that I came up with, where it's it's literally that you have this thing that's masquerading as news, but we're only going to feed you some of the facts that help one side. Or it could just be opinion pieces or whatever, and it's not actual news. Yeah, you like brainwashing or mind controlling people into believing certain things, and I'm just not. I just don't know if it should be allowed or not. Because why should someone who's not, especially when you think of like Murdoch's influence, it's happened in UK, America. He's way away in Australia. What's he got to do with this country? Why is he allowed to be interfering in it? Is he doing it for the greater good? Did someone like ask him nicely? Did someone pay? What's going on here?
Yeah, we probably sent one of his great grandparents there for stealing a loaf of bread to feed their family 300 years ago or so to start off with. But
and this is a payback.
But yeah, this is his long game payback. But in fairness, news flavored entertainment needs to go on a t-shirt. I think that might be the first piece of temporally scripted merch that we ever create. But personally, I don't think anybody really is intelligent enough to vote in the age of social media. I include myself in that. Like, I don't believe that I understand geopolitics well enough to be able to make a rational decision about who should be leading my country. And I also think that it's ridiculous that we have 5 years of government and all of these opposing parties fighting each other and stuff. It's like there should be some kind of united front that makes a plan for 20 years and sticks to that plan. And within that plan, there can be a whole different system of everybody. And I know people say, oh, Parliament works like that or whatever. But to me, it's just a load of grown men like shouting at each other, grown men and women like shouting at each other across the room. And like
and it turns into like some like school playground kind of thing. Yeah. You look at like the House of Commons or whatever, and it's embarrassing. Or then worse, you go to like, a clip of the House of Lords and there's just like old people asleep. And it's like, this is not how you decide upon the future of a nation.
Yeah.
And then you have a whole ego thing that's in there as well.
Yeah. Oh, we're starting to make some progress. Let's have a 7-week summer holiday. Just close the doors. Let's pretend we're still at school, lads. Yeah, don't worry. Prime Minister needs a break anyway. There's only that thing we had about the reason that I get my free tickets from Arsenal, Keir Starmer said, the reason I get my free tickets for Arsenal is because I need some downtime too, and it would cost the country more if I used the security forces I would need to sit in a normal seat. So I'm actually saving you money. I'm like, bro, if you're leading like the 6th biggest economy on the planet or whatever, we're probably way lower than that now. You've not got time to go and relax and watch football. You don't get a work-life balance. It doesn't come with the role. Like you're not entitled to a work-life balance. You're the leader of one of the biggest countries in the world. Have a work-life balance when you go and take a job with whatever company's been paying you off for 4 years while you've been prime minister in America later. Or you get a 10 grand for speaking at a dinner. Like it's to me, I just think that there is so much take on there. And
absolutely.
Which will bring us to our next story shortly, but when you look at the average person in the UK that's working hard in a job, doing what they're doing, can barely afford to scrape by, and then you have these people going, oh, I'm a bit stressed, I need to go and watch the football. If you're stressed, you're in the wrong job. Can you imagine Winston Churchill being stressed?
I would imagine he got very stressed and all kinds of things at different points, but he didn't make it public that I know of.
No,
it's not worried about is I'm getting fatigued, or it's like he's actually bad doing a job, being as heroic as possible.
Yeah. I'm at risk of burnout. I better take a few days off.
My mental health is not great at the moment. I didn't. Yeah, sure. But it is, and you're exactly right. It's a very stressful job. I need some downtime. Why did you take it? It's probably, one of the most difficult jobs you can do in reality. People think it's easy, but I would imagine it's really difficult being in that kind of position. But you signed up for it. You knew what it was. You thought you were the right person to do it. Why? And other politicians do the same things. Oh, I'm just getting stressed. Or sometimes you see them crying and things like that. And it's like, this is not a good look.
Yeah, that's it. And I get emotion, don't get me wrong, but not in a position of power running a country and supposedly deciding what's going on. And there's too many of them. Like, how can you make a decision? Sometimes when me and my family, there's two of us, my brother-in-law and my two kids, trying to decide where we're going to go and eat lunch on a Sunday is hard enough. With five of us. Imagine. So with 600 like children that are dressed up as adults in a big room, all going, I've got to have my opinion. What are you doing? So yeah, I think we could pretty much rant about that all day. It's one of the things about decentralization of politics. There's a series from like the 80s called, or 70s maybe, called Yes Minster.
Oh yeah, I've watched that before. It's really funny,
and it's so much on point now. It's like really cool. And if you look at that, you see where they're like, the Prime Minister says, yes, of course, devolution to all the local areas makes total sense, because then every area can make the decisions with their budget based on the area that they're in, and they know what's going on around there. But then they'll realize they don't need all of us in London. And then what will happen? What will we do in 4 years' time? There we go. That's the thing. And if you want to get a view of modern politics, then just watch The Thick of It, which is about the spin doctor who was Tony Blair's spin doctor. And that's a really good series that just shows you how they really think when there's a disaster, or listen, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take the fall for this because it's a shitstorm. But so don't worry, we'll get you a good place on the backbenches, and eventually in a few years you'll be able to come back, but you're going to have to take the fall for this, because otherwise the media flack's going to be too much or whatever. Really interesting. Yeah. It's about Alistair Campbell, I think. That's the guy's name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, from that sort of notorious kind of time. And he was like the sort of spin doctor. I can't remember his official title, but yeah, just
advisor to the Prime Minister or something like that.
Yeah, telling allegedly many pork pies about many different subjects. Because that was all around the sort of war in Iraq kind of time, wasn't it? When went to war in Iraq and said, oh yeah, there's weapons of mass destruction. He's got loads of them. Turns out he doesn't have any, but 1 million people are dead now.
Move on.
And then the Labour government's gone from that time. All those people have pretty much vanished. But they've probably, many of them, done very well in business, and like you was mentioning earlier, after dinner speeches and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, mostly based in American companies, and which are the biggest investors in the UK economy. And I think we're one of the biggest investors in their economy. So there's this game, isn't there, for sure. But anyway, let's move on. So the next story I want to highlight, and it came up because of what we were discussing there about people struggling with wanting to go to football matches and whatnot, when the average Joe is really struggling right now. I saw this news story from the United States where a man has been arrested for living in the Crawlspace of an Oregon housing complex. And you can see in the picture here, he's got a nice setup. He's got his water bottle. There's a fan there in the back, a chair. It's reasonable. It's got decent lighting. I don't know where he got this from.
Looks a bit Christmassy, but it's not a bad size.
Yeah, he's laid out the floor a little bit. And unfortunately, he's been caught. So now he does have a new house, which is the penitentiary. But
disappointing.
Yeah, it probably costs quite a bit more to the taxpayer to put this guy up now. But what does this say about the world? Oh, look, he's got a little flatty up there, a little flat screen,
nice.
Curved TV in the corner.
It looked like he was doing pretty good for himself. So was this like underneath somebody's house?
Yeah. So Crawlspace, I think in the US is above. These look like rafters to me. So I think this is like the loft space of a housing complex. He's got a little safety box there, look, and it clearly set up a nice bed area. It's not too... I've lived in worse.
I definitely have. It looks quite luxurious in many ways.
Yeah, it really does. what a state of the world for us to be in, where people are living in crawl spaces now.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but I think just the rise in homelessness in general throughout the Western world is just astounding. Really, I can't remember like the exact stats and whatever, but everyone's seen it. Anyone who's living somewhere in the West has witnessed more homeless people sleeping in cities or different areas than there used to be 20 years ago. So something is going wrong. And I think maybe it's a bit like that. Ray Dalio has this thing where everything goes in cycles and everything's this kind of bell curve sort of shape. And that's everything, whether it's like businesses, countries, even your own life cycle is the same. You have the up, the peak, and then the decline. And I don't know. I just think a lot of the West seems to be on that steep decline. And it's just, it seems to be in like every area of life, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's things like homelessness, whether it's mental health problems, all kinds of things. It just seems like it's really on that way down in certain areas.
Yeah. And I think alongside that, it's people that just cannot afford to sustain themselves anymore. I feel like we lived in a world for the last 20 years where it was quite normal for people to not wait for stuff. Like, I think the generation or a couple of generations before, if you were going to buy like something big for the house, maybe it would be like a car, or you're going to build a garage. Obviously, it only cost about £2 to build a garage back then, but you get my point. People would wait and they would save and they would put away. And then we became this like world of, oh, you can just get a credit card and just put it on the credit card. It's interest free for 12 months. You'll be able to pay it off in that time. And people are like, oh, yes, please. I even get it now where my bank will offer me credit. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it'd be not. What? I don't need it. Why do I want to take another $2,000? They're going to charge me $3,000 back for it. But it's this all money, right? And I think that there's been a lot of that. And then that alongside cost of living and things becoming ever more expensive everywhere, even more confounded in the Western world. You're getting people now that basically have no choice but to go on the street. And it seems like this is what this guy is. It looks like he's built himself quite a nice roof space and tidied it up nicely, and it's just out of necessity. But then you have the other side of it where you have younger people or other people that got on the streets and then very quickly get into like drugs and like alcohol and all of these kind of things. And if you go to pretty much every major city in Western Europe, and I'm assuming it's the same in Australia, I'm assuming it's the same in America, you have all these zombie towns where people are just high on fentanyl or crack or whatever else. Like, and what's happening about that? Like, why is there no intervention? Why are the governments trying to even encourage that by making safe spaces for people to take these things? Stop them doing it. It's illegal. Crack down on it. Like, I don't, there's no, if they can know where I am in a city at any point in time based on the security cameras, right? And they can build all of these weapons and whatever else to the crazy technology, right? They can see you from space if they want, from a satellite. And you're telling me that you can't stop people bringing drugs into city centers and selling them to homeless people? It just is nonsense.
There must be ways to do it. You think, are you just letting this happen, or are you letting everything just go to hell? Because, yeah, like you say, with the amount of technology we've got, I mean, on a separate subject, I guess, but it's like, where is the money being allocated? So it's Graham Linehan, the guy who wrote Father Ted.
Yeah.
He got arrested at the airport by 5 armed police the other day for tweets that he'd made in the past.
Oh,
police in airports are always armed anyway, so that wasn't a big deal. But yeah, it sent. But anyway, yeah. So he ended up in hospital as well because it sent his like blood pressure and everything else through the roof and whatever else. But it's like that. It costs a lot of money to do that kind of thing and investigate people like that. Why not just allocate some of this money into like really serious things? Like you say, it's like there must be ways that we can track who's moving what into every country and who's doing what. And if you really wanted to crack down on the dangerous stuff, I'm sure it would be possible with the technology that we have, and just maybe not waste money on things that, yeah, it could be bad. Someone said a tweet, it was a joke, but oh, someone might feel offended by it. Yeah, that's not very nice for the person who's offended, but it's worse for the parents of kids who die from a fentanyl overdose or something like that. And it's there must be something we can do about this. But in America and in some of the places, it just seems like the government, I don't know what they're doing now, but in the past, we're just actively encouraging it. And I've seen interviews where it'd be someone who's living on the street in San Francisco, and we're just like, yeah, well, every day I get up, I get my money, government handout, basically, go and get some breakfast, go and buy some drugs, take the drugs, sleep, wake up again, go get some, and that is the day. And a lot of people are living that lifestyle and moved to San Francisco and places like it on purpose to live that lifestyle.
Yeah, it's almost like being a human koala. That's pretty much how they live, isn't it? They wake up, they eat loads of eucalyptus, get high, sleep, eat some more eucalyptus, get high again, sleep, fall out of a tree, die.
Yeah, we've evolved for millions of years, but maybe there's still some flaws in the genetics. I don't know.
Yeah, and it seems so. It's one of these things that, again, it's like the bell curve you mentioned earlier. And usually, what happens in these cycles is, in our generation, I didn't know that many people that would take heroin, for example, because I think for us, the generation before us, there was like a lot of heroin users, and they died, and you've seen them on the streets and stuff, and you're like, when you're a kid and you zombie people walking around, you're like, man, I don't want to be like that. So they then they all die, obviously. So there becomes like a generation gap. But this time, it just seems like an endemic. and it's not just in one city; it's every city, pretty much in every major westernized society has got this problem. And like you said, the police, like they in London, they can fine people for riding the wrong way in a bike lane. But if you like steal someone's bike, that's cool. They're probably nothing's going to happen. We've not got time to investigate people stealing bikes. We're far too busy fining law-abiding citizens for riding their bicycle with no hands or whatever. It's what? But how have we come to this point in time? Like, I honestly think in the past, where every area had a local copper and he knew everybody, and if somebody misbehaved, he'd give you a slap. Is like I think that these times we miss them because everyone knows there's no consequences anymore. If you're a little kid, and don't get me wrong, you've grown up in a terrible environment, your parents are not great, they've never grown up, you live in some estate somewhere in the UK, and you've grown up with no real leadership or showing you what life should be about, and your life's pretty rubbish, you don't have much opportunity, you're likely to not have much opportunity. Nobody's going to do anything if you just start taking stuff and doing stuff. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah, and this is it. And you're right. And I don't know if it's because of the money that it costs to put people in prisons, but prison just isn't really a deterrent for a lot of people, because half the time that someone does some crime, it's okay. First time, go to court. No, it's okay. It's just, you just get like a warning or something like that. And then it can happen again. Eventually, it ends up in prison time. Like, so you're doing 2 years. Then that person's out in a year or less, and there's no consequences for doing terrible things, it seems.
Yeah, and then it's like school, because you go and meet more contacts, more people that are doing the same kind of things that you're doing, and breed criminal ideas and criminal identity.
Yeah.
And you just don't care. There's not enough of a deterrent. And obviously then prisons are massively overcrowded and full of drugs in most countries now as well, like to an uncontrollable level. I watched a documentary not that long ago about the British prison systems, and like everyone that is going in, I can't remember which, it's one of the old Victorian prisons in the London area. I can't remember, quite a famous prison. Anyway, like every floor, every place going is like the smell of cannabis in here is intense. It's so literally what they're just drones are flying over the wall, dropping stuff off. People are high. They're smoking. What's that? There used to be
like
legal
spice or something.
Spice and all of this other stuff. You've got people with mental health problems that they just lock up in solitary, and you've got like hundreds of prisoners to a guard. And just no, it's not even rehabilitation. It's just go and get locked up for 23 hours a day and take drugs all day, and then come out and expect with no support once you come out. Like I'm all for rehabilitation in prisons. I don't think people should be written off. And if you look at how things work in the Nordic countries like Sweden and stuff, people joke about it. You go in and you get educated and you might have a PlayStation and a decent room. But generally speaking, these people are committing crime because of the society and the world that they've come through. They need to be educated out of wanting to commit crime. And generally that education is understanding themselves better and their mindset better and why they do the things they do so that they can come out. I don't believe that anybody wants to be a criminal. I don't think any baby is born predisposed to be a criminal. It's just what happens over time. And, you know, eventually you take actions and stuff, and then your choices limit. The more you go down one path, whether it be eating too much or smoking too much or whatever, the more you go down that path, your options to do other stuff just reduce and reduce and reduce. So you need to be re-educated to see that there's other stuff you could do. So if that's not happening, then what is the point in prisons? You might as well just, I'm not going to say, but you might as, if you're not going to try and help, then they're just going to get worse.
Yeah. And then it's get released, and so you don't have a job, so you can pretty much go on benefits for quite a long time and do some extra bits on the side. But what a lot of people do. I can't remember who it was, entrepreneur that I saw interviewed. I can't remember his name. Is it Daniel Priestley? Something like that. I might have his name completely wrong. But anyway, he was saying that he'd done some work in prisons before because he's like an entrepreneur. And so he'd done almost like business coaching and getting groups of them together to formulate business plans and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, man, some of these guys in prison, they're excellent business people. Because they've done a lot of business, a lot of buying and selling in the past.
As you'd expect, right?
And he's like, but you can actually take that skill that they have, which they're clearly good at, and you could just say, okay, let's formulate some ideas for some other things where you can actually make more money in a legal way.
And benefit society while you're doing it.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. So I just think that there is a severe misallocation of funds, like you mentioned. It's like, where is this money going? Why is it going to where it's going? And it brings another story to my mind. So yesterday I saw an MP of one of the constituencies in the UK, and he was saying, oh, this pack of Weetabix is £2 in the leafy middle class shop area superstore. But in the area where like it's run down and it's people haven't got so much money and there's more people on benefits and all of this, it's £2.20. And he was challenging and saying, why are they charging more in the shops where people are poorer than where people have more money? Now, I looked at this, I was like, for one, why are you wasting your time on this? For two, that you said the first shop was a superstore and the second shop was a convenience store. So you have to pay for convenience. And three, it's because people are stealing more in that shop in the poorer area. So the head office, they go, oh, our loss in this store is 10K a year because of people robbing stuff. So we're just going to put the prices up.
Yeah, it could well be.
It definitely is. I work for Boots, right? That is literally what we do. And I've had friends in the past that go, oh, I steal from big corporations because I like to hit it to the man and stick it to the man. So I go, and as long as it's a big company, I'll go and steal from them. And then it's, yeah, dude, at the end of the year, they just go, okay, how much did we lose this year in loss from people stealing, wastage, even things getting broken? Oh, 12 million. Okay, so what prices are we going to put up next year to get back that 12 million? Or what are we going to charge back to the suppliers because they didn't make their products not stealable? Like, it is too stealable, so you have to pay unless you make it less stealable. And literally, we have these metrics. I know we do because I work for one of these companies, right? So even these people are like, let's stick it to the man. I was guilty of this when I was in my 20s, right? So in my 20s, I never used to buy toilet roll. I used to just take serviettes from McDonald's.
All the serviettes from McDonald's.
Like, just piles of them. And I used to convince myself and say to people, but I'm sticking it to McDonald's, right? I'm sticking it to the man. I'm not paying to poo, right? I'm taking it every time. And I'm eating a double cheeseburger for 79 pence or whatever they
While on the toilet at the time.
Exactly, with a big
Elvis
stack
style.
Of them. And then as I got a bit older, I realized that all the McDonald's are franchises. So in fact, what I was doing was boosting McDonald's money-making activities, because as I was taking all these serviettes, the franchisee was having to buy more of them from McDonald's, which they were taking a profit on. So actually, I was helping. So yeah, anyway, it's a bit of a tangent, but for those of you that do steal, thinking you're sticking it to the man, it's the same as people that do insurance fraud. You're literally making everybody else pay for it, because these big companies will never take that on, ever. It's not how they operate.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, that's Jack's lesson of the day, kids.
I'm sure we're all wiser and we'll be much more careful with how many serviettes we take from McDonald's in the future.
Exactly, yeah. So let's move on to the next story. This was really cool. I saw this earlier. One of my favorite people as well. I'm a strange human where I do really like the monarchy. I can't help myself. I don't know why. Maybe it's indoctrination, growing up in a small town in the countryside. But I do like the royals. There's just something about them. There's that air of regal and
inbred
and knowledge and all of this stuff. So would you believe that this image of King Charles was written, was drawn, painted, I'll get it right eventually, by a humanoid robot?
Oh, so the robot actually got some paints and painted?
Yes, it's not an AI generated image.
A humanoid. Sure that's right? Okay.
Yeah. Interesting first line from Sky News. Whether or not the UK will have a royal family in the future is something that often comes up in debate. It's got nothing to do with the story whatsoever. just here's our political agenda. Anyway, moving on.
Let's just fit that in there. I'm pretty sure the top bit is just a photograph of Charles.
Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. This wouldn't even get on the fridge. If your kid, if my kid brought this home from school, it's like, Daddy, I've painted King Charles. I'll be like, yeah, that's nice. In the bin.
I've never been so disappointed in my life.
It's pretty good in the eyes. And this ear is accurate. You can tell that it's Prince Charles. But I think this is pretty nuts. Yeah, someone needs to train it on color scheme by the looks of it. But this is the artist.
Wow, okay.
A humanoid robot.
That's crazy.
After 5 or 6 pints. Oh, you're an artist, are you, love?
trying to impress her with a kind of WD-40 or something like that. And
yeah, well, stop squeaking. But what blows my mind about this is the way that people look at robots and AI is, oh, they can come in and do all of these things that we don't want to do. But it feels like they're coming in and doing all the creative stuff.
Yeah, which is, I guess it's like it's that thing, we're not just going to use AI and robots to replace certain sections. When it can do everything as well or better, then it will replace everything that we do, more or less. You'd think surely it's okay if it can, I don't know, if it can paint pictures really well, why can't it do some plumbing really well, or work in a shop, or do all these different things? And eventually I'm sure that'll happen.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't start coming for dad jokes and stuff, because then I need to put my line in the sand and ask AI to make me an idea for a witty placard so that I can 3D print it and send my humanoid robot to stand outside the Houses of Parliament and protest on my behalf.
Yeah, exactly. Which is
down with robots. It is becoming like a Futurama crossed with the Simpsons style.
Crossed with Father Ted or Faulty Towers or something in some ways.
Yeah, that's the world. I can actually picture like people's humanoids going to protest for them.
Yeah, just for everything really, because we'll just literally have, a robot humanoid that you can just get to do whatever. It can be a second you. It can go to your protests. It can pick the kids up from school. It can do a bit of shopping, cooking. It could be all kinds of things. I would think it'll take a long time before these things get a bit more widespread, because the technology still needs to move on in terms of how good they are, how long things like the batteries will last, how adaptable, and also just in terms of production.
Yeah. How many Africans can we send down to collect the lithium by hand to make enough robots for everybody?
You'd hope that there'll be some of the first jobs that could
get replaced.
But then at the same time, what happens to all the people in that country who rely on lithium mining? Could we give them some money, or could we install huge solar farms so they have free energy? I don't know, but you'd think there must be some way we can help various countries especially after we've exploited them so badly.
Yeah, we're sat here in 2025, you and I, in an afternoon, sat having a conversation about these things, and we're not exactly what you would call famous or well followed, but we still have the time and capability to do this, while at the same time you have people in the world that don't have clean water in 2025. Again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the allocation of funds. There's no excuse for it, and it's not that there isn't enough for everybody, in my opinion. It's that there is a deliberate things not being done. And I get it. I think some of it as well is like our lack of understanding of the infrastructure that's required to deliver clean water to people. If you even look at the roads in some of the countries in Africa, it's, oh, that town is 20 kilometers away. Oh, cool. How long does it take to get there? Oh, about 14 hours. Oh, okay. Why does it take 14 hours? Well, because there's no roads and it's like muddy and raining. And so I think there is a bit of that, like you can sit where we go, oh, why didn't they just give water to everybody? But then you could also argue, like, why don't they just move? Just move.
It's a bit more of a drastic solution.
Here water, here no water. Just move here. Just get going. But then I suppose they end up with all the homelessness and the fentanyl and whatever else when they do move, because there's not enough in those places. It does bring me to, I saw a YouTube video the other day where this guy goes to the UK protest where people are protesting to let refugees in and do all of this stuff. And he goes around and asks the people at the protest, he's got like a clipboard and stuff. And he's like, hi, would you like to sign up to house a refugee at your house? And they're like, oh, no, I would, but I just don't have the space. Okay, no worries. Next one, he's like, would you like to sign up to have a refugee? Oh, I would, but I'm renting. It's like, okay, cool. Next person, would you like to sign up to house a refugee? What sort of refugee? It literally comes out of him. I was like, okay, so where are we going to put all these people? And I think quite often that disconnect between what I even said, why does everyone not have water, and the reality of the logistical situation of that is like quite broad.
Yeah. I think the thing is as well, though, there's certain countries around the world where they've received like huge amounts of money in terms of aid, from whether it's from charities, whether it's from countries, from different things. I don't know. I remember watching different documentaries and things like that, where it's like this money just seems to go into the country, somehow goes to the government, and then most of it just seems to pretty much disappear, and very little like real change seems to happen for the average people that live there. And I think the whole thing is, with a lot of places, it's just energy. It's if you can find a way to make clean, cheap energy, then that helps everything. You can, with that, you can purify water. You can turn seawater into fresh water. You can, if you think the whole economy really is just energy, it's taking some materials, turning them into goods, and all that process, all those things take energy. And that, I think we just need to find more ways to do that. And you would think surely in some places in Africa, you could just set up huge solar farms. It wouldn't be hugely expensive, and it would surely help with a lot of problems.
Or nuclear power stations.
Yeah, those little modular reactors
built by developing countries. Just for the record, just.
But yeah, those little modular reactors seem to be like a really good idea. They seem to be incredibly safe. We'll see them getting rolled out a lot more, I think, as we need more power for data centers and things like that. But
just for the record about my comment, in terms of corruption in countries, it's, the concrete needs to be like 10 meters wide or whatever, 8 feet. It's like, okay, cool. Just make it 6. It'll be fine. It's like, there needs to be like a global like control of and a checking of these places before we just start putting nuclear reactors all over the place. You know, this needs to be thought out a little bit, for sure.
Maybe.
Brilliant. Moving on. We've got a couple more stories to go through today. We're going to bring things a little bit lighter. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, Adam, you're going to be proud of your history, because I know you're a man who has never, ever taken your phone to the toilet. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're ever around Adam and you need to borrow a phone, his is the safest.
So it's slightly cleaner than everybody else's.
Yeah, believe it or not, scrolling on your phone while on the toilet raises your risk of hemorrhoids. Now, this is only according to this new research, and I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you.
I think there's piles of data on this.
Hey. That one's brilliant. I like that. But yeah, 46% more likely to develop hemorrhoids.
That's quite a big percentage. But I guess the percentage chance of getting hemorrhoids anyway was quite low. But yeah, 46% more. It's still probably not a huge thing. If you take your phone to the toilet, you're going to develop hemorrhoids instantly. It's not like a high possibility.
It's not like that.
But it does increase it.
Yeah, like nearly 2/3 admitted to scrolling while on the toilet. and 1/3 are lying. Yeah. And then there's Adam. So I can see it. I think there are other factors at play here. For example, the wide range in speed of people pooing, right? Some people are in and out, aren't they? And others, it's I'm off for a poo. I'll see you in an hour. What are you doing in there? So I would also argue there's that. I'm usually like a 1 or 2 minute pooer. I don't know what longer pooers do in there, to be honest. But I know my dad was always a reader. There'd always be like newspapers in there and stuff. Not for wiping. We could afford toilet paper, but just for... He would call it shiterature.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when that was more of a common thing. To have a newspaper by the toilet or something
or
like that.
Or a Screwfix catalogue.
Yeah, just look at some brackets and some hinges. And
That's literally my childhood bathroom experiences. But yeah, so I don't know. Would you not say that in the era of shiterature, there was the same risk?
I wonder if maybe people get a bit more engaged with the phone and would stay for longer, because the whole thing of the social media thing is draw you in for engagement and keep you on there. So maybe that has more of a draw than a Screwfix catalogue.
I think my dad would have disagreed, to be honest.
Would I, but
I would much prefer a browse through a Screwfix catalogue, to be honest. But yeah, what a world that we live in. Again, there's a common theme here where we're in a position where researchers that have probably spent like 20 or 40,000 pounds going through their universities and their doctorates, and now they're studying for their doctorate, their PhD, and they're like, oh, we've got to do a study. Let's do a study on the increase in hemorrhoids for people sat on the toilet scrolling through their phones. And let's run a controlled test and an experiment. Let's get people to come in and ask them how often they sit on the toilet, and then give them a medical examination to see if they've got hemorrhoids, and then work out from that the percentage of people that sit on the toilet. How much do you think this study costs?
It's such a bizarre thing as well, isn't it? It's like all the things that you could study. What a random thing. Oh, I wonder if there's a link between like phone use and hemorrhoids. Like, okay, good idea. Let's get this researched. Maybe we get a published paper. It just seems mad.
Yeah, why? And I think probably because most things are already done. They're like, oh, I want to study this thing. That sounds really good, but we already know. So there's no point. Don't study that. All right. What about this thing? And then it just gets gradually more abstract and random, trying to find a study that's not already been covered in full that's significant. And then other things that need covering are so hard that you can't do that when you're studying for a PhD, because you're just learning. So it's about learning the hypotheses and the methodologies and all of this kind of stuff. You can't just go and figure out protein folding.
Yeah, so you have to find something that's a little bit less,
challenging,
demanding in terms of time and money.
Yes,
but yeah, it's really bizarre. But like I said before, I don't really get the need to go to the bathroom with your phone. It's what do people feel like they're missing out on, or what you just can't be without a phone for? I don't know, somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes or something like that. Is it? What's so important? I just don't get it.
I usually use it to catch up with emails and messages. So if you get a message from me, it's normally because I'm taking it in.
Jeez.
If you don't hear from me, it's normally because I'm not taking it in. So yeah, maybe that's more of a question of my work-life balance. But I have sat and watched shorts in the toilet for sure. I flicked through watching shorts. So if I'm watching a YouTube video on my phone and then I need the toilet, I will go. I did notice yesterday I was watching a YouTube video while having a pee, and I was like, something needs to be done. This is out of hand.
Were you watching a video from your own channel?
Yeah, watching myself. No, I was watching this. I was watching the shorts of you.
That's even worse.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I can see why people, because it's one of those habits that's so easy to pick up as well. It doesn't take a lot of effort to pick up that habit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You can't really see the negative of it either very easily. So you get sucked into it. And then once you're sucked into it, it's like, it becomes like a crutch, like having that thing in your hand when you go there. But yeah, the increased concern about hemorrhoids is going to make me reconsider it. I think I might add it to my things to phase out list.
No, I think it's a stark warning to us all.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I really do think that is the case. So, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's like, I actually not having my phone on me sometimes, so I don't take it with me to go to the bathroom. If I go to the gym, my phone stays at home. And I find it quite nice in some ways that this thing's not going to go off in my pocket. I'm not going to be tempted to look at it. And it's nice to just not be connected in that way, even though it's just for an hour or something. Because I don't know, it feels to me like there's always, if your phone's there's always the temptation to look at it. And it's not just whatever notifications or messages or calls or whatever. It's just that this thing's there, and it does have this sort of draw on us, because that's the way all of those apps have been designed.
Yeah. I have to say, I used to do Sundays where I just didn't look at my phone or any tech at all. And I need to reinstill that habit, because it made a huge difference. It's so nice not being contactable. People realize that I don't reply to messages much now anyway, so I get less messages as a result. But that doesn't mean I'm not online. I'm online and I'm working on stuff and doing stuff, and I'm messaging people if I need, but I'm just generally not answering people unless I'm in the toilet.
Or unless there's some money to be made.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it's a bizarre world, isn't it, where you can go from that to the next thing. I have one final story, but I don't want to, we don't need to go into it in too much depth. It's more of a bit of a light humor just to finish off our news review. Actual snakes on a mother frickin' plane.
Oh no, I'm sure there's a movie about that somewhere.
Yeah, there is. It might even have Samuel L. Jackson in it. I did see a random like B-movie copy that was called Snakes on a Train.
Maybe that's a sequel.
Which is pretty cool. How far could you go with it? Snakes on a plane, snakes on a train, snakes in a Uber. Doesn't quite work as well.
It doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
It doesn't really. Does it? Snakes on a bicycle? Yeah, no. How? It's in Australia. Okay.
Oh,
it's not news. It probably happens all the time.
Yeah, but it's not something you really want to find, is it? I guess I found it in in the under, I don't know what it's called, the underneath bit of the plane, like the cargo hold.
Yeah, the cargo hold. I think that's right. I think that's exactly it. So it apparently was the cargo hold. You nailed it. It's almost like you used to work for some kind of airport service or something.
Or maybe it's the future. I don't know.
Maybe you've just seen into the future. So it delayed the flight for 2 hours after a snake was found in the cargo hold.
No.
Yeah. So there we go.
60 centimeter green tree snake. It says it's harmless.
Yeah, so they should have just left it. Maybe it just wanted to go on holiday.
Yeah, just take it to another country, like an invasive species, which Australia's had a huge problem with over the years, hasn't it? With
they're super hot on it.
different things that they've introduced and thought, oh, this is a great idea. And then all of a sudden it's not. I don't know.
They're really hardcore on it and bringing stuff into the country. I don't know if you ever saw that. Oh man, I give so many insights into my entertainment enjoyment of the past and of present. But I don't know if you've ever seen that TV show that's like border control in Australia. And there's always like someone from China or whatever turns up and they're like, have you got any of these things in your bag? They're like, no, it's like, you understand that if you tell me you haven't got any of these things in the bag, we're probably not going to let you in the country. Yeah, no, I've got nothing on the list. You got none of this food, none of this meat, none of these animals, none of that stuff. Open the bag up.
Yeah, I've seen some of those TV shows, not in Australia, but seen like the Spanish versions and stuff, and it's just nuts what people bring in. And you got like seafood, but it's like still moving and things like that, or just stuff where it's like rancid meat that's going rotten in a bag, or just, yeah.
It's bizarre. You can get those things through. You wonder, like, the snake, you might as well just let him crack on. Yeah, we actually had a snake in our front garden yesterday. He was a little snake. I heard my wife screaming. I thought someone had died. And then I came down and there was like a little snake like this big, just moving around the front garden. So I ushered it out and it went on its way.
Yeah, I guess even if it's like small, it could be venomous or something.
Yeah, no, I think it was a tiger snake. From what which they're not venomous. It's it was a similar color to what a cobra would be, so that did make me a little bit concerned. But we're moving house in a week, so not my problem.
It might be there waiting for you. Who knows?
Yeah, and I'll have a quick look through the gate on the way past to see if the neighbors like lying there, like when they move back in, because we're only moving down the road.
Maybe it's my fault.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is the temporally scripted roundup of the news. We're going to do these more often, maybe every week, maybe every other week. But thank you for sticking with us and for listening to our rants and raves and views of all of the news. Oh man, that's got to go on a t-shirt. That was beautiful. Our rants and raves and views of all of the news. But Adam, thank you for coming and for bringing your views on the news to this platform. It would be very lonely here if you weren't part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be. And it's a pleasure as always.
And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, give us a like, a subscribe, a comment, and we will see you next time on Temporally Scripted.
Slick.
Goodbye.
All right. Bye, folks.